And we are automatically recording. Awesome. Here we go, everybody. Hello. My name is LB, and you are joining me for a very, very special sales shot because check out our awesome panelist and expert, Brooke Bachesta.
Wow, thanks for having me.
I'm so glad that you're here. This is going to be a lot of fun. So you guys know, if you've joined these before, at Factor 8, we are all about the sales skills, the voice, the virtual selling skills. But it's not just a voice game, right? It's an omni-channel event, getting a hold of people and selling these days. And I don't think anybody does enablement and acceleration better than outreach. And here we have SDR manager turned SDR, XDR enablement manager, Brooke, who, I mean,
an intro.
You've been doing this for 20, 30 years, right?
Yeah, not quite. But yeah, I've made the transition from SDR manager, which was such good fun, into enabling this team. And I've learned a lot, and I'm eager to share what I've got with all y'all today.
This is a good one. Here we go. We're going to jump right in. Here's a fabulous picture of Brooke. Come on, girl. There we go. There we go. This is us. And let's move on. Oh, funny fact, by the way. Brooke and I know each other because she is a graduate of Generation 1 of Girls Club.
True. Changed my life. Huge fan.
Oh, those are kind words, because I think you pretty much had your stuff together before you came to us, but you really helped make it meaningful in Generation 1. And we are almost full in Generation 4. I'll show everybody the link of that at the end. All right. We're going to cover when to use these skills, ideal email sequences. We're going to talk about best practices in your voice, your intros and your voicemails, and best practices in your emails. Let's start with our very first shot. When do you use this? So, Brooke, I mean, outreach, you drink your own Kool-Aid all the time, right? Do you use your cadence for everything or just for specific times?
I think that's the beauty of using a sequence is you're just amplifying yourself as a sales rep. So whatever capacity you're using this in, whether you're a renewals rep, a customer success manager who's expanding folks, or you're building your funnel in like really early stage prospecting, a repeatable a repeatable list of activities is going to help you out either way.
Yeah, super fair. I'm gonna dumb it down even a little further. Definitely use this for cold calling and warm calling, but you're not going to need it with your super active customers that you're talking to regularly unless you're on a specific campaign. So I think there's probably more use cases than you thought there were, but what we're going to focus here are on the cold to warm lead calls, even though you absolutely can use it for, like we have here, account penetration or account revitalization and waking people up from the bottom of the territory of the book. So if you're not talking to them regularly, you can use this. Now, it's important, however, that we all agree on something right up front. Whether you're reaching out with email or voice or social or all of the above, which is best practice, the goal is always the sales call. And Brooke, I can't wait to hear what you think about this, because I feel like I'm a broken record telling people, stop trying to sell over email. You can't sell over email.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think email is great for opening doors and getting a conversation started, but I can't think of a single 7-figure deal that has been closed without talking to people. At the end of the day, it's people talking to other people. And we know that even from a pipeline generation standpoint at Outreach, we book almost half, like 50 to 60% of all of our meetings that are booked across every single segment, micro, SMB, commercial, enterprise, is booked over the phone. So the email is going to help you open the door, but then the whole goal is just to talk to a human as another human.
Bingo. And so that already should start giving you some clues about the best practices that you guys are going to see, right? Our email sequences aren't including trying to sell over email, nor are our voicemails. My focus in this is going to be, you work so hard with all of these touches to get them on the phone. Now don't screw it up, right? So Brooke's going to help show the sequences to get us there to this sales call. I'm going to pull in the best practices about how to do better when you actually get them in those first 2 minutes on the call. All right, so here we go. Sales shot number 1. We're going to just look at what is a great sequence. Brooke, tell us more.
All right, so a sequence, if you're not familiar with the term, is just a repeatable list of steps that you would already be doing as an excellent sales rep, and you're using the power of automation to amplify that. So a great sequence or a great way to get in touch with folks typically means that it's multi-channel, meaning I'm not just leveraging the phone or just email. It's a combination of phone, email, LinkedIn, text messages, direct mail, what have you. It tends to be about 2 weeks of effort before you call it quits and maybe try a new approach. So think of it as like a play that you're going to run for about 2 weeks before you get in touch with somebody. Over the course of those 2 weeks, typically we see the best results with about 15 touch points. And that may seem like a lot, like, gosh, I'm going to blow up LB 15 times over 2 weeks. But think of how often your dentist or your hairdresser reminds you that you have an appointment and you're already a customer. So you're top of funnel, you're trying to get their attention. And most importantly, you want to make sure that there's no more than 3 days in between each of your touches. And that comes down to good old recency bias. We got this from Skip Miller. He is an author and an advisor, and he's written a book, many books, but one of them is called Outbounding. And what he found is that if you wait for more than 3 days in between every touch point, so like say I leave LB a voicemail, and then I wait more than 3 days to send her another email or call her again, she's going to forget who I am. And even if your prospects don't respond to you, shortening the time in between steps can help them remember who you are. So when you finally do get them on the phone, it's not totally out of the blue and they have some kind of like reference to go back to.
That's so good. This answers 9 out of the 10 questions I get all the time. How often should I call or email? How often should I touch? Do I leave a voicemail every time? How long should it last? And, you know, I have to say, I'm the recipient of a decent number of these, right? And that often touch point is critical because frankly, I don't see all of them either, right? Like I may have gotten I can tell sometimes when I'm part of a sequence, right? And I'm like, oh, I've seen that kid's name again. What was it? Well, what was that name again? And I maybe remember one other message from them, right? Maybe my assistant cleared out an email or somebody else was checking the LinkedIn messages. So they might not even see and feel all 15. And that's important to keep in mind too.
Yeah. And you want it to sound like you, right? Because you even just said, like, I can tell when I'm assuming you meant a poorly automated sequence where you're like, I'm just
getting. Let's be honest. Yes. Yeah.
It's meant to sound like you. So don't let the robot do your job for you. It's not going to replace you. You're just amplifying you and your LB-ness or your Brooke-ness or like your sales-ness out there and using automation to help forward those emails. And we'll talk all about the details about that later, but keep that in mind. It's just, it's you trying to get in touch with your prospect, human to human, not robot to human. So
critical. Love that. All right, let's look at some examples. I love the slide you put together for us. Come on, here we go. Walk us through. What are we looking at here?
All right. So what you're looking at here is an actual sequence format that we use here at Outreach. We have sequenced hundreds of thousands of prospects and customers, and this is all data driven. So we've gotten this based on machine learning, artificial intelligence, telling us this is the highest likelihood of getting in touch with somebody. You're looking at 2 different types of sequences. The one on the left is what we call a manual sequence. And the one on the right is called a personalized sequence. You'll notice they seem to be exactly the same. I was
looking at these slides. I'm like, wait a minute, hang on. Wait, no, could it? No, same.
They're, and that's on purpose. You know, I'm going to keep things simple. They're a little over 2 weeks each. There's multiple touch points involved. You'll notice there's multi-channel. So there's a combination of phone calls. So that's me as a human manually picking up the phone and calling somebody. There's automated emails. I'll call that a bump. So I'm replying to something and saying, did you lose this? Bumping this at the top of your inbox. There may even be LinkedIn messages in here, but the key differentiators are on the left-hand side, a manual email. Manual is the term that we use. It's just like an internal outreach term to say, hey, I'm using a template. And this is great for folks who are early in the top of your funnel. You're like, I don't know a ton about LB, but I know that CEOs tend to care about these things. So I might use things that I've gotten from my own marketing persona studies of like, pains tend to be X, Y, and Z. Here's some current customers that I think might resonate with you. And I'll sprinkle a little bit of personalization on top, but use the power of a template to send out a lot all at once. The right-hand side uses a personalized email. And when I say personalized, I really do mean personalized. So you start with a totally blank template, or I'm sorry, a totally blank email. There's no template in there. And the reminder for you just says like, hey, write a great email. And this is where you know so much about your prospect that it would take you longer to shoehorn your research into a template than it would to just write the email. Like, I know what LB is working on this quarter. I know what her company's trying to do by the end of the year. I know who our competitors are and exactly what tech stack they're using. Like that level of detail you can write that in your first email. And then you're just using the power of the sequence to forward that along until you get your person to pick up the phone.
Okay, off script question for you
Yeah.
here. At what level do I say, I've got enough of these, I should make a template? Like, let's say I'm coming back from a conference, right?
Yeah.
And I collected 25 cards, or
Yeah.
I've just done some prospecting and I found 25 similar leads. Do I shift it into a template, or am I going personalized on the first one of those and it's more worth a template when you get
Yeah,
them?
I would say there's no like hard and fast rule as far as the number, but thematically, if you have a bunch of people who fall into the same category, like a persona or an industry, or there's a specific talk track, like you're selling a certain product to a certain group of people, totally repeatable. A personalized email, which you wouldn't use a template, is like very specific to that individual, where it's like, I couldn't send this to anybody else. So I guess the short answer is, if you're going to do it twice, you might as well make a template and save yourself the time.
Yeah, I like that. And I also like the fact where you're like, I wouldn't send this to anybody else, right? Like, this is, I'm selling to a friend. I have that sometimes, right? If we're doing automated marketing messages, and I think about the fact it's going to go to Brooke, right? You're going to get a message about factor 8 and something we're doing, but it would be weird for me to message you and not be like, what's up, girl? And let me tell you about what's going on with Girls Club. And you're a friend, right? And so I would never dream of sending an automated one. And there's the line. Got it. That's making sense to me. I like that a lot. So you touched on this, but I just want to share it because it's a bonus extra shot. Who doesn't like a second shot, right? You're saying you start automated and then move. Say more about that.
Yeah. So the way I think about prospecting is like, you have your funnel. And if you can see me, webinar people, don't mind my Band-Aid. I tripped when I was running with the dog.
Oh,
You start with your funnel and say, for easy math, I have 100 potential prospects that I'm trying to sell to. At that point, I don't know about anybody because I haven't talked to anyone. I haven't formed a relationship. So like, I can find things online, but like, I really don't know my 100 prospects. So I might send them something automated, and an automated sequence. Like, I know that the reply rate is going to be pretty poor. And when I say poor, when you send something fully automated, robo style, like your dentist is confirming something, you get a 1% reply rate on average. And that's from all of the hundreds of thousands of interactions that we've sent. So it's better than nothing, but it's not great. And use that as like a pulse test for like, is there anybody alive at this count? Gosh, I opened up their LinkedIn and nobody has a photo, and the only person there has been there for 25 years. And you're like, I don't know if it's worth my time to write this killer email that nobody may read. So you start there. Let's say it gets open, then great. I'm going to shift to a template of like, okay, I know that there's a pulse on the other end. I know this much about the account. Let me use that. And then once you start to talk to people, you're whittling that pipeline down into like, hey, maybe there's 10 people at the end of that list of 100 who I've had actual conversations with. They've referred me. They've told me about their business. And at that point, I can now go back to my top line decision maker and say, here's all the things that I learned, and write that super personalized email that can't be sent to anybody else.
I like that. I like that. Don't waste your time if you're not even sure it's a valid account.
Yeah.
We teach a lot about qualifying and categorizing accounts, right? So on my A's, I may start personalized. My C's and my possible D's, I'm going automated all the way, right? And the B's are there.
And that prioritization is so important, especially when you're prospecting, because we've all been in a spot where you spend 3 months chasing somebody who you think is your star prospect, and then you find out their title isn't accurate, or you thought they were the VP of the department, but they're a VP individual contributor and they can't buy from you. Super frustrating. So
if you've got big lists, this is a great way to whittle it down. I love that.
Exactly.
Thank you for that. I love getting best practices right from the people who wrote the book. This is good. All right. Now, here's another question I get a lot. Let's talk about the voice side of this. Well, there's a lot of phone calls in that sequence. Do I leave a voicemail every time is the number one question I get. And my answer resoundingly is yes. In fact, I'm going to go with a hell yes. Here's why. That's what makes it a touch, right? The goal is to actually brand, to touch, to get the recency effect she just talked about. And if you are calling and they're not answering and you're not leaving a voicemail, it didn't count. At the very least, you're leaving company branding. You're leaving you branding. And frankly, guilt works. I love telling this story about this kid who was trying to sell me box seats at the Phoenix Suns. I'm in Phoenix, right? Problem is, I freaking hate basketball. Hate it, can't stand it. Squeaky sneakers on a basketball parquet, that's like, what, it's like torture for me, right? That would be hold me down and torture me. That's it. So I promptly ignored all of the emails. I ignored the mailer where he sent me a piece of the old floor. I ignored all 4 of his voicemails. And then, as happened, I accidentally answered one day. And he's like, LB, it's Scott from the Phoenix Suns. And I felt like I knew him already because I was dodging him so hard. And because he was super nice in every one of his voicemails. In fact, he was kind of laughing like, I did it, I finally got you. Now, it would have been really easy to be like, F off, Scott, I'm done, right? But because he left so many positive, because I felt guilty. I talked to him for 15 minutes and the door stayed open because guess what? They hold concerts there and gee, he'll call me back. But let's be clear, I went into his list of C leads and everything was fine. But my point is, absolutely yes, leave a voicemail. Just don't leave one that sucks. So let's talk about that. Good voicemails. Number 1, always under 10 seconds, as fast as possible. We used to say 20 seconds, but most people are going to read it transcribed now anyway. So, and by the way, those are always done offshore and not always very correct. Brooke, do you do that on your phone? Do you laugh about what you get transcribed?
I do, because as somebody who works in sales development, if I'm available, I try and take calls because I think it's good karma for my fellow SDRs.
Right?
But a lot of times I do screen it and I'm like, I don't want to deal with it right now. I'm sorry.
Right? Oh, it just cracks me up. So everybody calls me LB. And the lovely, lovely people in the Philippines who have this gig with Samsung write LV every time. Like they must think that my name's Elvira, ELVIE, cracks me up. So I know it is somebody who actually knows me when it says, hi, LEVIE. All right, good voicemails, back to the point. Under 10 seconds, very, very clear. The point is I want you to pretend it's your best friend that you're calling. You gotta have some personality in your voice. Don't do this robo crap. Don't do this stick to a script like do it with some verve. Okay. Get some personality. You got to overdo it a little bit when it's just your voice. Now, of course, the number 1 goal outside of branding and guilt is to get a call back. And we've done the research, and these are the 4 ways you get it. The 4 types of voicemails that work: urgency, mystery, value, and lever. Now, we've got a boot camp that you can join to learn how to leave awesome ones of each one. We don't have time to go into it deeply, but I will share just a couple more quick facts about it. Never, ever, 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 ever do this. And you get a lot of them, right? Remember, the goal is always the sales call. So the voicemail is not about trying to leave a proof point. The voicemail is not about convincing them that you're right. The voicemail is not about anything but getting a call back, just like emails. Here's an example of the one I think works the best, and it's mystery. You'll see here, I don't give a company name. I don't even give a purpose for the call. Mystery. Hey, Brooke, LB here. Please give me a call back. Here's my number. I look forward to talking. One more time. Here's my number. Done. People are like, what is that about? What was that related to? Is this even work? Is this about the kids? And you're going to get a call back, right? Urgency works well. Lever works great. Value works great. The long and rambling voicemail, not so much. If we have time at the end, I'm going to play you one. I collect bad voicemails. Brooke, worst voicemail you ever got?
I don't remember the specifics, but yeah, it's really long where I'm like, what do you want? I don't know what's happening. How'd you get my information? I don't need to hear your whole story. I could have just talked to you and gotten it done faster.
Yes. There's very often I will not listen to the end of it. And those are just the ones from my mother. So there you go. All right. Extra shot on voicemails is mix it up. Okay. You are going to be leaving. How many voicemails do you have in a standard sequence, Brooke? How many phone calls are you trying?
Oh gosh. I mean, but if there's 15, at least 7.
Yeah, bingo. Right. So leave a voicemail every time, but mix it up. You can try mystery. You can try leaving some value. You can even try some urgency. Hey, it's important to talk with you today. Give me a call back. What I do like to suggest is that you note in your CRM which one you used. Because what you don't want to do is leave an urgency voicemail about, it's really important we talk today. And then someone calls you back and you're like, I have no idea why. So you got to prep yourself a little bit. You got to be ready. Oh, it's so important. Here's why I wanted to talk to you right away today. There's something going on, or something hit me, or something's expiring. You get the idea. Just, you guys, like an hour and a half of effort to plan out and script out some great voicemails and have some standards. Note which one you're using along the way. Test them and see what works best for you. You can do all of that effort in 90 minutes and it will make a huge difference.
And I would just like to add to this. I think most of us are working from home in some capacity still, and it is really draining. Let's just be honest, to make 100 cold calls by yourself in your kitchen with like nobody else to talk to. Voicemails are a
I
great
know that happens to us.
to make sure that like you're continuing to talk, and that when your top prospect picks up the phone, it's not the first time you've opened your mouth that day and your voice is all scratchy and then it cracks and it's just like, oh God, my tongue's getting all twisted. So it's a good mental game too. And it's a good exercise to just make sure that you're sharp when people do pick up.
You are so right. You are so right. Thank you for that. That's critical. All right, here we go. Boy, do I have funny voicemail stories. We don't have the time. We're going to move on. Brooke, your turn for tips. Great email messages. Got some bullets here. Talk to them.
Yeah. So when you're writing an email, similar to a cold call, you want to have structure, right? You don't want to be reinventing the wheel every single time you send something out because it's exhausting and there's just not enough time in the day. So we use the following tenets in outreach of like, you want to make sure that your subject line is short and to the point. Should be 4 to 5 words. You can mix it up. Usually people tend to open it if their name is in it, if an emoji is in it. I would avoid things that are really gimmicky, like free in all caps or 15 exclamation points in your subject lines. Your email should be creative and relevant. So like an attention getter, but relevant to your prospect and what you're selling. If they can't connect the dots, they're going to say, congratulations, you can Google me, but like, I have no idea what this is about. Should be short enough to read on your phone. The 150 total words, it's a guideline. I wouldn't, don't beat yourself up if you put in 151. The idea is if I'm scrolling on my phone or on a LinkedIn message, can I get the gist of this? Or am I reading a novel that most likely will not get read?
Will not get read. Exactly.
Yep. 100%. And it's focused on them, right? Like what is in it for them? They don't care what you sell or who you are. Hate to break it to you. It's a tough pill to swallow, but people are focused on doing their job and they're really busy. So the more you can do to create urgency, like LB was talking about, and make sure that it's something that they care about, the likelier they are going to reply. And it's structured, and we'll go through the structure here in a second.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, way to pull Swift in. Loving you. Factor 8 team, Swift. So what's in it for them? Boom. All right. So you've got a flow. Here we go. Let's write a great one. Sentence 1.
Yes. So first step is personalization, because every time anybody has ever opened an email, the first thing they do is they read their name and they say, okay, what is this about? And a personalization could be like something about them, their company, their industry, something relevant to them, like business related, right? Like if you're going to use something that's personal, like, hey, I see that we'll pretend that LB is a huge Suns fan. Hey, you're a huge fan of the Suns. Me too. I can't name a single player, so I'm not going to try to. Hard transition. Would you like to buy my product? It can be very confusing. So make sure it's relevant to what you're talking about.
Yeah, good one. I like that.
Yep.
Next
one is a risk or potential pain. So this is, hey, I've got your attention. Now I'm going to double down on your attention by saying, hey, here's something that you should be focused on. And people move away from pain way faster than they move towards a nice to have. Think about it. You're in the emergency room, you break your leg skiing. The doctor comes up to you and says, I can give you morphine now and a cast, or you can wait it out and grind it out and I'll give you a vacation to Hawaii in 3 weeks. Like, what are you going to pick? Like, fix my pain right now and help me deal with this because it's driving me nuts.
That's a good example. I don't know, man.
I guess it depends on your pain tolerance, but in general, we'll use what's called away messaging, help them move away from the thing that's bothering them. The next one, and this is the most important, is a transition to how you can help. And this is what most people forget. They put all this time into researching and they find out that LB loves the sun. She loves to go watch basketball, but she can't get her hands on a dang box seat. And so she's been trying so hard. And then they don't say anything at all about how you can transition to help. And they transition to something totally irrelevant. Prime example, we see this all the time with reps. It's like, they'll say, hey, I see that you went to University of Washington, go Dogs. You want to buy some outreach? And your prospect is hanging like, what on earth do those things have to do with each other?
Yeah. Okay. Now there's your challenge, Brooke. Connect those.
As somebody who knows not a lot about sports, I know that you're from Washington, which is a place that has a lot of great seasons. And the best part about an effective sales play is that you have multiple types of like seasonality and things with your, I don't know, I'm losing it, but
you're doing fine. You're doing fine. What, isn't that also the outreach headquarters? Is that
it's true? Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So go Dogs, right? I'm based in Washington as well.
Yeah.
Is that relevant enough?
I think you need a little bit more. Like, what is it? The general tenets guidance that I give to reps is like, find something about your prospect, explain to them. They may, it may be super apparent to you because you're in the world of selling your product all the time, but you got to make it really obvious to them. So find something that your prospect is working on, remind them of how important it is to their business, remind them of the impact that it has in the industry, and then tie your product into how can I solve the problems that those three sections are struggling with.
Boom. All right. And then sentence 4.
Don't take my word for it. Take it from all these other people. Find some relevant social proof. That could be referenceable customers and names. I would avoid sending a big old white paper or like some other long document that they're not going to read. People just want to know that you've got clout in the industry that they work in, because the biggest complaint people get oftentimes is like, you don't know me or my business, so why would I trust you? Demonstrate that you do by showing, hey, I've worked with people like you a million times before. I may not be a chief revenue officer myself, but I've talked to X, Y, and Z, and here's what they had to say. And then you close it out with a very clear call to action. So when you read it, this is how most people read their emails. They go to step 1 is I see my name. And then I go down to the bottom. What do you want? And then I go back up to the top of the email and I go, okay, what is this about?
Yeah.
I'm reading about it. And then you'll notice that the middle part is the only part that you can talk about yourself. It's your relevant social proof and how you can help. And it's there on purpose because that's the part that people skip, and you want them to read the top and the bottom. And then when they've convinced themselves that you're worth their time, read the rest of your email, and then it makes sense. If you start with you, they're going to skip the rest of it, and then you're out of luck.
100%. I'm about to say the same thing as we get to your introduction. So we're not going to dig really deeply into these examples because you guys are watching this recording. You're going to have a chance to pause and really look at this. So Brooke, what do you want them to get out of this email?
Yeah, so I think what makes this email great is it's easy to read, like the formatting. You've got your bullet points. There's relevant research in the beginning. The pains that are listed in there are specific to that person. The formatting is appropriate. And by that, I mean, like, there's not a bunch of all caps or bolds. There's not like an unnecessary use of emojis. Like, it's professional, but you're helping guide them by bolding important bits, specifically numbers, money, percentages, people. Like, you want to be able to quantify their issue or what their competitors are doing, and that's going to help move the needle. So being able to quantify something in terms of money, times, people, resources. And then there's a clear transition to what the solution is.
Yeah.
So we've got all those things packaged up together. It looks clean and tidy. And you know what? I bet you this is probably from a template. So if you're using the 3 bullet points again, you could probably create this into some kind of template for yourself.
Boom, boom, well done. All right, pause and steal. Let's look at one more. What do we get out of this?
Okay, so this email, you don't want to shame SDRs, but this one's not so great because it has really poor context. It's super short, so we'll go through it together. Like, Wayne, would it be terrible for you to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of sales process, stuff like outbound and inbound, CRM sync, sales engagement, etc.? I'm lost. Like, why are we talking about this? It's super vague. I have no idea as the person reading this. If I'm Wayne, what does this person want from me? I see that there's a call to action for, okay, available for a call this week, but to discuss what? And I think if you read it out loud to yourself and you think this person would be lost, you got to start over from scratch and just make sure that it becomes painfully obvious. And by painfully obvious, like at Outreach, we sell sales software to salespeople. And one thing that we help them do is like improve processes. So a lot of times when SDRs see, hey, you're working out of spreadsheets, they hear the keyword spreadsheets and they go, ding, 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 I can close this person. And they jump all the way to the end of their conversation, but they don't give their prospect any context. And the whole time the prospect is like, wait, are you like a smart sheet or are we talking about spreadsheets still? And they don't understand that you've skipped over the value and the pain all the way to your close because you haven't brought them there. So you got to do that in your email too.
And I really love that you were talking about, you've got to be super, super simple, right? We do another class where we're talking about your value prop, or sometimes we call it your SWIFT pitch. And being able to, like, we try to make it technical and we try to sound smart and we try to make it cool and pack a bunch of features in. But busy people, especially executives, are dealing with so many different things throughout the day. You got to hit them right between the eyes with it. I love how you did that. Sales software for salespeople. By the way, the slide I was showing previously is another good example. So you can rewind and look at that. And then I love that you included a not so great example too. Okay. Now, when this works and you call and they actually pick up the phone, don't blow it. Okay. I got to tell you, if you don't work on a really standard, fabulous intro, 9 out of 10 stink. We call ours the Swift intro. I've done a sales shot on it, so go find that download. But here's a quick reminder. It's very short. It's focused on what's in it for them. It answers, here's the goal of the call, and it ends with a question. Why? Because the entire goal of your introduction is to get the decision maker talking. Nope, not to give social proof, not to give them examples, not to get them to buy from you, not to prove you're great or give benefits. The only thing you want to do is to get them talking. That's the goal. Here's how you do that. This is the secret sauce. Swift questions are very short, one-word answer, and they're rote answer, right? When I say, Brooke, how old are you? Boom, there's an answer in your head. You don't have to say it out loud. When I say, Brooke, how much do you weigh? There's an answer in your head. You don't have to say it out loud. But the point is, once it's in their head, it's halfway out of their mouth, okay? I know everybody else teaches you to ask open questions. You're going to do it after your closed question. Here's an example of a fabulous Swift intro. Mark, LB here with Factor 8. I'm hoping I can get you and your team some higher commissions this quarter. Do you have a team of 10 or 12 reps? Are you outbound or inbound? Got a few open seats right now? These are one number or yes, no questions. Here's another example. Mark, goal of my call is to save you some time on your hunt for VoIP products. This is if you got an inbound lead, right? So instead of just calling back and saying, I guess you filled out a form and my job is to call you. I've heard that. My job is to save you some time on this search. Is your time frame this year? How many are on your radar right now? How many different companies are you talking to? Is it about 100 seats? Now I'm going to push into some explore questions. So what's your top priority? And we're in a sales call. That's the key. Final tips on voice. Don't mess up your intro with these things. I just went through that, right? Don't sell, help. That's the key. And your intro is just about getting them talking so that you can have that discovery conversation. If it goes well, about 4 or 5 questions in, they're going to be like, okay, I'm sorry, hang on one second again. You're with who? And that's when you hit them with your value prop. You're very, very simple. Here's who I am and what I do. All right, Brooke, I'm coming back to you now. Some final tips when we're writing our emails.
Yes. Okay, so recapping. If you're going to put personalization in, take the time to find a way to make it relevant and transition it back. No random social personalization. So no like, hey, you played sports in college. Me too. You want to buy my software? Oh, I see you got funding. Can I have some of your money? Like you got to make sure that it's relevant. If you put it in all caps and it sounds like a ShamWow commercial, it's like the old rule of like you're yelling over email. No one's going to read that and it's super irritating. So like write like a normal person would talk. Information overload is no good. Like LB was just saying, short and sweet and to the point. Like people don't have a lot of time. They're already getting caught out of the blue. Make it super easy for them to reply to you. And be sure that you are avoiding having no flow. So like the choppy breaking up of sentences where like there's not the transition. It's not clear what you want. You're just shoehorning things into an email. That's no good. Be sure that you just read your email out loud. Best practice before you send it.
I love that. I love that. We're going to skip over the live questions because we're going to take those via email and we're going to start to close this sucker up. If you like this and you want more training for yourself or your team, Factor 8 does boot camps starting every single month. These are cool. It's a combination of e-learning and live sessions where you get real coaching for your voicemails, for your intros, for your discovery questions. So there are, look at these, 1, 2, 3, 4 different master classes that you can sign up for. We typically work with very large companies with very large budgets, but our master classes and our boot camps are ways that we can help individuals, smaller companies, directors with a little bit of budget, and a whole bunch of people who need help. So come check those out, factor8.com/masterclass. And I cannot let this go without plugging Girls Club. Brooke, you would not believe how fast this filled up. Oh my gosh.
That's great.
We start on April 1st in Generation 4. And by the time you guys get this on a recording, I think it's probably only 10 seats left. If you're wondering what the heck this is about, just check us out. wearegirlsclub.com and /apply. Brooke, if they're listening to this and they're loving what you laid down and they're thinking about getting a new job, how do they come work at Outreach?
Yes, we are hiring like crazy. So be sure you can just shoot me a message on LinkedIn, or honestly, fastest way is probably just to shoot me an email. It's first.last@outreach.io. So feel free to shoot me a note if you want to talk about getting into sales. We've got plenty of entry-level sales roles open, as well as stuff all across the company. I'd be happy to share my experience of working there. And if you're looking for just talking about amplifying your sales process, feel free to DM me as well, or just check out outreach.io. And we've got a whole section called Outreach on Outreach, where we're drinking our own champagne. We're testing things out and we're sharing all the results with y'all.
You know what I love? Everybody I know at Outreach, I love. And Anna Baird is one of our thought leaders in Girls Club, and she's awesome. But I super love that you changed Kool-Aid to champagne. Stealing that. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
In a very big way. That's just perfect. I love it. You're a rock star. Thank you. Isn't that, don't let's go by fast. Boom, we're done.
They do. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, we'll be happy to answer questions that you guys email to us. Thank you so much for joining us this month for the Sales Shot. Brooke, thank you for coming and playing along with me.
Thanks for having me. Super fun.
Yeah, this was great. Thanks, everybody.